Can you hear me now? Okay, so I just did a whole intro and nobody could hear me. All right, good stuff. I love it. I love it. All right, so there's a botch entry. Thanks for the no sound, guys. I appreciate that. We'll do this one more time, and we'll go ahead and let you know what I was showing when I was showing all my pretty pictures right here. One more time, thanks to my Patreons. You guys rock. We will have happy hour after dark after the show. There's links in the Patreon chat and in the Discord Patreon chat. So if you want to stop by and talk with us afterwards, make sure and do that. And these guys right here, they are the top donators for the quarter. We've got a big jumble of tide there toward the end, but it'll sort its way out for sure. All right, so I'm glad I got sound squared away, and we're going to go ahead and bring out my guest tonight. You guys should definitely know him if you're an activator, or if you're a hunter and you've set in a pile up, you're gonna know it for sure as well. Mr. India Charlie Papa, the Insane Clown Posse. What's going on, Bruce?
I thought maybe you were going to blame the no sound on propagation or something.
That is exactly what it was. I've got my microphone set on 20 meters, and we all know that 20 meters don't work well for me.
Yeah.
So also before me and Bruce get started, I do want to give a shout out. I've got another gentleman that is in the screen room, and the other week I said I was taking applications for my own personal Frank, and the only person that wanted to be my own personal Frank, he got the job. So Kilo Bravo 3 Golf Radio Golf Hayden is my new Frank, and he's going to be helping me out, making sure I get the questions seen and everything like that. So should make a lot better stream from now on with him. So shout out to Hayden for that. So Bruce, how you been, buddy?
Keeping busy. Lots of radio time, as you well know, and enjoying every minute of it, though.
Roger that. I found out something right before the stream, and it just really shocked me because, if you go and you look at 2022 top hunters, the most QSOs, number one's going to be Bruce. And he's also second in unique parks. So, I mean, this guy is hunting, just like I am activating. And, people always are amazed when they found out that I also work all day, Monday through Friday. Well, Bruce actually has two jobs. And, like, that amazes me that he is, because the hunters, man, they're ruthless. Like, my hunters, I don't care when I get on. I can get on at 6 o'clock in the morning, or I can get on at 12 o'clock at night. I never, ever worry about getting activated. Never. Like, I have literally pulled into parks 5 minutes before a late shift and posted, hurry. And by the time that 5 minutes is up, I look up and I've got like 37 calls or something. So, I mean, hunters are ruthless, man. How do you get so many parks and work two jobs, man?
Well, let me start with qualifying something. It's two part-time jobs, and it's selective times, early in the morning, or later in the evening. And I've kind of cut back on doing the late shift quite a bit more of late. But otherwise, I sit in my station and keep an eye on the spotter network, and I'll do other things as I sit here. And when I see somebody on, I'll just put that aside for a few minutes and get that station. Pretty simple. But you use the word ruthless. I cringe a little bit, but I guess I could be described that way. I've been called other things before, so
no. Listen. I deal with some, and I'm going to cover some hunter etiquette tonight.
Good.
As an activator, there's some people. Sometimes I literally feel like I'm a kindergarten teacher. and
Hmm.
I'm having to tell you to sit down 9,000 times, And
Hmm.
I get sometimes you can't hear the other person, but you heard me say QRZ, so you probably should have heard me say the call sign or the partial call sign. And if it's close, like if I say, all right, the India Charlie Papa, and
Hmm.
somebody comes in with Tango Mike Papa, okay. But if I
Hmm.
say India Charlie Papa and they say God bless America, it's eh, it's kind of aggravating for sure.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Well, you know what I noticed, Jim, is that we now have almost well over 18,000 hunters that are listed as hunting. Now that may be from anywhere from one park to many. Okay,
mhm.
and among that, there's a lot of new people out there. New people not only to Pota but to radio. And I think the last time we met, I mentioned that that was going to happen when propagation starts getting better. So it doesn't surprise me at all that you got a lot of people out there that don't quite know the proper etiquette or don't know how to operate real well, and they're
A-
learning.
absolutely. And you know, it, really about a month ago, I really started noticing a big surge
Hmm.
of new people that I've never
Right,
heard before getting
right.
it. Because I'd always go out and get 100 logs in 30 or 40 minutes, and then I'd get a little bit of break, and I'd cut once I'm that person that will get every last hunter if they're still calling, I'll get
Hmm.
them. But
Hmm.
I'm also that hunter that if I get that break, I say last call, and then of course I get 30 more calls. But if nobody
Yeah,
comes when I say last call, I'm gone because I want
yeah,
to go do another. You know, and there are exceptions, like when I do my early morning activations, and I've let it be known to everybody, 50 is my limit. I got to get to work. I
right.
do an activation before work, but 50 is the absolute limit. And I start telling them at 40, 10 more, 9 more, every number I will tell them. And, uh, and I've never had an issue with anybody saying
Yeah,
anything about it. But,
yep.
and then one time the other night, I was on, well, Support Your Parks weekend, and I was on a big rove. I actually went, gosh, I went on a 5 state rove. But, and, it was the activation right before a late shift, and it's starting to get late, and I knew how much time it was going to take me to get to the next park, and I didn't want to get caught at that park for a late shift because would mess. So I started saying, "All right, guys, 5 more." And I gotta go because I can't get stuck at this one for late shift, and I'll be in another one in 25 minutes, but 5 more in this one.
Right.
Sometimes it have to happen, but it's rare.
Well, there's certainly a lot of new people out there, and um, I guess you have to learn one way or another. And but I think it's good that you and there are a number of other activators um, take a moment and sort of give direction to people. And I've told a number of people you got to listen to the control operator out there or the activator and listen to what they're saying. And if they give instructions on how they're operating, listen to it. Don't just jump in and do your own thing because you want to get in there first.
Exactly, and you can't judge every activator by. Okay, for example, my hunters. I would not want them to go to another hunter and be like, "Well, you're taking too much time. You're not running this smooth like James." Blah 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 blah.
Yes,
Because
yes,
some people, it's the activator's discretion. If they want to rag
that's
chew with
right.
every single person,
That's right.
if it's their discretion because they're doing this to have fun, just like I do it to have fun.
There are a couple of activators that I've gotten anxious, okay, because they were just chatting a whole bunch, and I wanted to get in there and get out and be done. And but patience is what you got to have.
You know,
Otherwise, you leave and you come back. That's the other way
exactly.
to do it.
And I've been there too. Even like the other day, I wanted to get a park to park with somebody, and literally, because they're like me. They hear the pile up, and they were getting a bunch of call signs,
Hmm.
and they'd call each one, but they were taking so long with each one. Literally, I finally just said,
Yeah,
"Okay, I got to go on. I got
yeah, yeah.
I got my own activation to do."
Right,
And
right.
sometimes you do just got to go on, but you got to let the activator run it the way they want. And and when I get mad, sometimes I say things that I probably shouldn't. And I tell people, listen, if you guys will let me
There
run
you go.
this pile up the way I
Right,
want to,
right.
I will get every last one of you, and I'll get it way more efficiently. Because when I'm calling Kilo 9 India Charlie Papa,
Hmm.
and I'm just going to throw Dave out since he's in the chat, and Dave has never done this, by the way. But Dave is when I say India Charlie Papa, and Dave's going Victor Alpha 3 Charlie Papa, and India Charlie Papa and Charlie Papa. I would actually even Dave might not have heard it all,
Yeah.
but I mean, but if let's say it was Arnold and he's saying Zulu Uniform Alpha, and I'm like, I'm calling India Charlie Papa, and then you go to talk again, and it's Kilo Charlie 4 Zulu Uniform Alpha, and again
Hmm.
Arnold has never done that as well. But some of these newer hunters,
Yeah,
and not only that, but they'll talk over me. Like
yeah.
I'll call you, and you'll come back to me, and I'll try to give you a signal report. I'm trying to move through this thing and try to get it going, and I'll give you a signal report. You didn't hear me because they were talking over me, and
Yeah,
then I'm like,
yeah,
India Charlie Papa 5-9,
yeah.
and you're like,
Now,
oh, sorry.
now, in fairness to some people, and I've fallen into this myself, I'll be hunting and I'll see a park that I really need and want to get, and I'll get on the air and I can barely hear them out there. Okay, and I've found that I've talked over somebody I shouldn't. But I'll tell you what, if I know it, I always apologize right up front and say, "Look, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that." But that does happen sometimes. Okay, but the kind of things you're talking about most of the time, nah, that's just not listening. So
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Listen, I appreciate you hunters. I do get a lot of people that is always thanking me for always being out there, but without the hunters, it would do me no good just to go out in the park. I mean, yeah, it would because I love nature and stuff like that, but it would do me absolutely no good to go out there without my hunters, and that's one thing I want to talk about. I seen a thing in on the Pota page today, and it was a newer hunter, and he was asking a question, and he was asking, how many watts does people have to have to break these big pile ups? Uh, can he do it on just 100 watts and this, that, and the other? Because there's people with all these big stations and this, that, and the other. And yes, there are some people with some big stations,
mhm.
but I'm going to tell you right, it's nothing about watts.
No,
It's and this is coming from an activator, and Bruce can give you his opinion on it in a second. But listen, don't just get on there and start calling your call sign. Get on there and listen first. And now I still hunt. I'm not a big hunter, but I still do hunt when I'm home. I got home 30 minutes before I had to get set up for this stream, and I hunted 4 or 5 on late shift. And yeah, I still got it. I got right in there, right in there. I would break
mhm,
them pile ups right real quick. And but listen to how the activator is activating.
mhm.
See what they're doing. Are they calling the very first call? Are they calling the very last call? Are they calling just random letters? Because you got to stand out to that operator.
Mhm.
And like to break my pile ups, build a repertoire with me. Once you build a repertoire with me, I will hear your call no matter. I have Kilo Echo 8 Papa Tango X-ray. He will religiously hunt me on 1 watt
Mm-hmm.
and break my pile up in the first 5 minutes of the pile up on late shift. And anybody who's been in my pile ups on late shift knows that's just nothing but a roar. And it's nothing but me knowing the tone of his voice. And a lot of people, it's me knowing the tones of your voice. I don't hear your call signs. I hear one letter of you saying something, and I know it's you. And like most of the time, he just says QRP. And a lot of people will yell QRP because they know, okay, he's going to pull me out because I said QRP. But he'll say QRP, and I'll say Kilo Echo 8 Papa Tango X-ray and give him his signal report.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll be like, "Man, you got good ears." No, I got horrible ears. I'm deaf in my right ear, and I'm half deaf out of the other one. It's just I built a repertoire up with these people. Just like Dave. I hear Dave say Charlie Papa, and there's a couple of stations that has Charlie Papa at the end,
Mm-hmm.
but when
Mm-hmm.
Dave says it, I know it's him.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie Alpha Bravo 8 Lima Lima. Eddie literally sent me the other day. He got his 300th uh, operator to operator award with me.
Wow.
300
Wow.
times that he has hunted me. And that's just absolutely insane that somebody has wanted to talk to me 300 times. Did I not do 80 meters last night, Covain? Oh, yeah, you got me on 80 meters last night. That's right. Yeah, he was my first call on 80 meters. I remember that now. But yeah, like, and people know my voice. Hunters know my voice and this is how I know this, because I can be spotting through frequencies to find something, and I have literally before, not just once, but we're talking at least once a week. This happens. I'll say, "Is this frequency in use? Is this frequency in use?" And that's all I'll say. And somebody will say, "It's all yours, James. What park you in?" And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. You make a good point because I tell people too. You don't need a lot of power, and of course as propagation gets better, I mean that's even more extreme. There's some QRP guys out there that every time I hear them, I compliment them because I'm in awe that they can be so efficient to make the contacts with little or no power. Okay, but your other point there about listening to the rhythm of the activator, very important, very important. And you're right. If you contact somebody enough, they will recognize your voice and your rhythm and your call. So um, that's where I almost sometimes feel guilty because I get on and I'll make a call to somebody, and there'll be a ton of people out there, but I've talked to some of these people so many times that they know it's me. And so I they wind up calling me back right away, and while I appreciate that, it's almost gives me a little bit of a guilt complex because there's so many other people out there. But that's just the way it is. I mean, it's not what I asked for, but uh,
it's the truth. I mean, it's the truth. Yes, my pile ups are huge, and yes, I'm going to work every single hunter. But if you are one of my religious, my cult, as some people has called
Colts.
it, people actually talk about my pile up. They're like, "Man, you got a cult.
Yeah.
You don't have hunters. You have a cult." And you're supposed to listen, and then listen some more. That's right, Joe. You
Yeah.
listen before you
Yeah.
transmit. That's the way. That's the way it's got to be. And you know, another trick is, and don't get me wrong, don't start doing the overseas where you're like, Germany, Moscow,
Oh yeah.
Australia,
Yep.
because because that messes me up. But now if you get crafty with it, and I'm coming to, I got a funny story, but if you get crafty with it, you will get me. You will get me. I had some guy break my pile up the other day, and it was a big pile up, and not only did he break my pile up, I was absolutely losing my mind laughing when I was calling him back.
Mhm.
So I'm just hearing the big roar, you know. I'm sitting there listening, trying to pick me 4 or 5 out, and all I hear is quiet, no talking. I just start laughing. I was like, okay, quiet, no talking, and and I can't remember his full call because it's the only time he's ever hunted me. I'm pretty sure, but I think it was like November 8th. Quiet, no talking. QNT.
That's
I'm
good.
pretty
I
sure
like
that.
that. I like
And
that.
and like I did a lot, and other people got a kick out of it because Hayden heard about it off the Pota page because somebody got on the Pota page and posted about it.
Yeah.
But and I've told other people, like James from Michigan, QO8, high, ultra high frequency UHF.
Ultra high
I
frequency.
tell him, I
Yeah.
say and most of the time he'll say it, he'll say uniform hotel foxtrot. But if
Hmm.
it's a big pile up, you'll hear him. He'll say ultra high frequency.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know. Eh,
Yeah, you sort of made a joke out of being having a call that ended the way it did and being called a clown posse. And I can't remember who came up with that, but they reminded my call reminded them of that. And but I've sometimes used Indiana's craziest person, and that hasn't worked on some occasions. But I don't pull that out usually because that confuses people.
right.
Like you say, you use the phonetics properly.
Like I prefer you use them properly, but if you use
Right.
them exotic like that, it does not bother me very much. Because it's. But now when you're saying stuff like Honolulu and all this stuff, and I have to
Yeah.
really like, what's your call sign?
Yeah.
So I mean, because I get in this groove, and when I'm in the groove, people are like, "Man, you don't sound excited when you're activating. You have no idea how excited I'm getting." Like when I hear that pile up,
Hmm.
like my blood is just flying through me because it's super exciting.
Hmm.
But like I get in this groove, and I mean, I was telling I was telling everybody, I've done activation 5 minutes before late shift and had get 30. But I mean, there was one night, I'm pretty sure it was 9 minutes, and I had like 57 calls in the last 9 minutes before late shift.
Hmm.
And I here, I can remember when I first started activating. If I got there and there was only 45 minutes before late shift, I'm like, I can't do an activation. I ain't got enough time.
Yep. Yeah. Well, no, another thing that I think is good for hunters to consider is if they have there is a big pileup for somebody, and if they don't feel that they can break into the pileup, uh, go away and do another activator first. And I've come back many a times within 10 or 15 minutes, and the whole pileup was gone, and I could get right in without any trouble. So that's something that's pretty easy to do.
It is, like I said, I hunted. I think I hunted 4 before I got everything ready for the stream, and there was one, like I was watching the clock, and it was 1 minute till, and it was a lady, and she was calling
Hmm.
out this call, and I was like, I'm not gonna get in there before late shift because I wanted to do double on it,
Right.
and she got done, and I threw it out real quick, and I got in, and then she got another call for late shift, and I threw it back out again, and she didn't have much of a pile up going,
Yeah. Yeah.
but but then you can go get somebody like that and then come back. But I like the hunters that are just sticking there. Them are the guys that and that's what I tell these people, because you get a lot of people that just strictly go after parks on the air. Like they
Mm-hmm.
hate it.
Mm-hmm.
They're like these are our talk about macaroni and
Oh
cheese
yeah.
and our ankle injury channels, that you're messing with. And I even the people that were messing with me the other day and
Mm-hmm.
calling my call sign, it was about 10 minutes till the hour. They had been messing with me for about 30 minutes. I even stopped and I was like, "Hey, do you guys who's been harassing me all this time? Do y'all have a net in 10 minutes or something?" And they didn't say nothing. I was like, "All right, I gave you your chance because I was gonna move. I was literally gonna move, just because they wasn't doing the whole CW. I hate when they do the CW key over
Yeah.
top of me because then I got to go notch them out. And I hate some of the stuff they do, but they're just constantly. I just kept hearing it. I said QRZ, and then in the back I'd hear Kilo Echo 8, Papa Tango, or Papa Zulu. Why do I keep saying Papa Tango November? I don't even know my call sign no more. I say it 9,000 times a day, and I cannot say it right today.
Yeah.
But they kept me throwing my call out, and I just sit there and laugh. And then finally, I called them back, and they wouldn't call me back, of course.
Yeah. Well, as I was fearful of a number of months ago, as the numbers grow in terms of the parks on the air, you're gonna have some people out there that get really really bad about jamming people so that they can't operate and or can't be heard and this sort of thing. And I'm seeing that more and more frequently, and it's hard not to react to it. It really is. And I compliment those activators that are out there that just ignore them. Just ignore them and keep operating, because I mean that is a thing to do, because if you're not irritated by it, they haven't accomplished anything and they'll go away. But the minute you start going after them, man, they're just gonna keep feeding it and feeding it and feeding it
You
and
know, and,
going after it. So
and I'm gonna say 80% of the time I do ignore them,
yeah,
but sometimes I've just had one of those days, and
well,
I start talking trash about them.
yeah,
I do. I'm like, God, just ignore them. They live in their mom's basement, and the minute she'll come down and make them
yeah.
go to bed, and I,
I like that. Yeah,
because
okay.
that's exactly what they act like.
Happens on CW too, huh?
Wow, that's
Wow,
that's
I
that
didn't know that.
that's crazy,
Huh.
Mike, Mister Pota CW.
Yeah.
That's why I know I'm a great activator because I have Mike in my single
There you,
sideband log.
there you go. There you go. There you go.
uh, I
That's
need to
good.
get in his CW log. I'm trying, Mike. I'm trying.
Yeah,
But yeah. Now another trick that will help some new hunters, and I'm hoping Hayden can throw it in the chat for me because I know he's got it hooked up in this thing. There is a thing called Pota Plus. It's an extension that you can add to your computer,
hmm.
and it will show you when there's a park that you haven't hunted. You can actually click on it, and you hook it up to like do cat control to your radio, and you can click on that park, and it'll take your radio to that frequency. You can
Really?
do it, and it'll log the contact and everything. Uh,
Wow.
Mike, Charlie United 3 Hotel Yankee was telling us about it, and I
Huh.
know Hayden's been playing with it, and yeah, he's threw out the link for me. I knew he would put him on the spot. Put him on the spot, and I know he get it. But you guys should check that out if you're a hunter, because like it literally will show you, that it's a park that you haven't hunted, and I
Hmm.
mean that's a big thing. Like I probably should do it, but I just don't hunt enough. I like hunting. I love to hunt when I'm home. If I'm not on YouTube and not asleep, I will be hunting. But I'm in the parks too much. I do, however, I've got this thing. I've got this real bad thing because as you can tell, I like my paper as
Mhm.
as, as Molson on Clubhouse would say, my paper back there. But I really like my awards, and I Molson says that the awards are too easy in Parks on the Air, and I will agree with one thing: when you first start,
Yeah,
the awards are way easy; they're super easy, and but I think that's just to get you hooked.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
when you start getting the bigger awards that you really have to work for, you're going to be proud. Like I my I've worked all West Virginia. I'm the only activator in history that's ever done all of West Virginia. You know
That's
that can't
great.
be that can't be easy
No.
because I'm the only person that's got that award.
Yeah,
You know, Then you've got the outstanding operator. That meant a lot to me because that wasn't something you can earn. You have to be nominated, and what I was doing when I got nominated wasn't anything to do about getting an award. It's something that I still do, and any of the hunters who's been in my activation will tell you if I hear a youth call out, that pile up's stopping.
yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah.
on a 2 or 3 minute break because I'm going to talk to this youth, and I'm going to try to keep them
Yeah.
interested in ham radio.
There
And
you
I
go.
tell
There you
and I
go.
tell every single one of them, either tell your dad or your grandpa or whoever's letting you on the radio, tell them, send me an email because you're getting a card.
Yeah, there you go. There you
And
go.
that
I
card
agree
goes
with
out.
you. I agree with you. Yeah,
So I mean,
anytime we can promote the hobby and make sure they're having fun, you want to do it. Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, I think yeah, I agree with you, Jim. I think the certificates can be real easy to get, and I agree. It's a hook to get you started, but there's some that are challenging, and I just I can't remember the names of some of them, but where you have to try to get a particular park 10 times in different modes or different frequencies. That is hard, especially if you don't like me. I operate single sideband all the time. Okay, well I can get the different frequencies, but I'm gonna try to dive into CW here again soon, and I haven't gotten into FT8 yet, so I'm going to have to broaden my perspective, and that's a good thing. It forces you to start looking at growing within the hobby. Okay, and that's what I like about it. You grow, unless you're from an engineering background, you probably are learning something new every day, and that's a good thing. That is a good thing. And this, I think, Parks on the Air does force you to do that. And look at your equipment. Look at the antennas you're using. Look at your power. Look at the way you operate. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that can help you to achieve the certificates and whatever goal you have in the hobby. So, I mean, that's my feeling on it.
right.
So,
Mike N8YO said that the line is not an easy award, and I'll
yeah.
have to agree with that. And then Kathy Ellis asked what a line award is, and a line award is a transition between 12 different parks in a 24-hour period,
Hmm.
and it is absolute. And they got to be a certain uh, distance in between. You can't just go, really, really close. It's different for walking and riding a bike and driving. But if you're driving, I think it's something like it's got to be over. I'm going to say close to 4 miles or something, or 4 kilometers. I can't remember. I have to always look it up when I'm applying for them. But the line was not easy, even though I've probably did it like 2 or 3 weekends straight now. But I only applied for it once.
Yeah,
Uh,
but you're becoming proficient in it. See, you know what to do. I'm always amazed, and you're one of these people that does this. During the day, I'll see you operating in Pennsylvania, then I'll see you operating in West Virginia, and then the next thing I turn around, I see you again. You're in Tennessee or Kentucky, and I'm going, "How are you doing this?" You know, That's a pretty good jump. But you must live pretty close to the borders of those, so you can slip across or something.
Well, I plan my trips.
There you go.
Like when I'm
There
doing a
you go.
rove, I plan them on a certain route, And
Yep.
sometimes one time it changed. Matter of fact, it was a couple weekends ago. I was going to do a late shift rove,
Hmm.
um, and I was going to do a late shift rove, and I was going to hit parks around Louisville, go up
Mm,
to Indiana,
right.
which is close to
Right.
Louisville.
Across the
Then I was
river.
then I was
Yeah.
gonna cut I was gonna cut over into Ohio, into Cincinnati, and then shoot straight back down and do some other Kentucky parks.
Hmm.
But what I did not take into consideration, all places is not West Virginia, and you can't just get into some of these parks at dark after
Yes.
dark.
I
So
knew you were going to say that.
so I get to a couple of parks straight, and because I said it was going to be a 15 park minimum, so I get to a couple of parks straight that ain't open, and I'm like, all right, new route. So I start looking at the maps, and I was like, okay, so now we're going to get Ohio. We're going to drive across
Hmm.
Ohio
Hmm.
and go over. We're going to go across the tip of West Virginia and go over into Pennsylvania, then back down into West Virginia.
Yeah.
And just
It's quite a
like
challenge.
last weekend, to support your parks, it went. Let's see, I went Virginia to North Carolina. Now this was overnight even, and all through the next day. But it was Virginia, North Carolina, into Tennessee, up into Kentucky, over into West Virginia.
I think that must have been the night I saw you skipping around, and I'm going, holy moly, how's
Yeah,
he doing that?
yeah. But
So
it was it's called no sleep, and now I
yeah.
had a driver. I had a driver, so
Okay.
it did make it. Of course, I still did not sleep, but it still makes it so much easier if you have a driver.
Yeah. I can
And
imagine.
it's all in preparation for next year's goal. It ain't even about this year. All this that
Mm.
I'm doing is in preparation for next year's goal. So
Oh,
I'll just leave that at that.
can, okay. I was going to ask you. Can I ask you what the goal is? But you want to hold that for a little bit.
Well,
Not committed.
I've put it out there before. Not this, not this support your parks Black Weekend, but the next one. I'm gonna make a run at Justin and
Ah.
Bill, because Bill gets mad if I don't say and. Because I even told Bill, I said, and two support your parks weekends, I'm going to make a run at Justin. He said, you're making a run at me too. I said,
Yeah.
okay. So I'm going to make a run at them, and because they got their game, like
Oh yeah. Yeah.
they're roving, and hours wise, I can go hours wise with anybody,
Hmm.
but they're roving, and my roving is different.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
like I have been on a rove with Bill. We did 18 parks in a day, and it was kind of like NASCAR. We would pull in, both of us would jump out. We were throwing stuff everywhere. Back at CQ, 12 contacts, and Bill would hit the power button on me. I mean, he wouldn't let me get an extra. I mean, he would literally hit the power button on me.
Oh wow.
I'm like, Bill, you're making my people hate me.
There's somebody that's fanatical. There you go. There you go. But
But now
that's
listen,
okay.
Bill can rove, man. He is a
Yeah.
machine. You know,
Yeah. I can believe it.
he
I
is
can
an
believe it.
absolute machine. And anybody who has done, listen, you hunters who is doing the Bailey Sprott challenge, hats off to you, because it's not easy to hunt somebody every day.
Yeah.
Do I see any rule changes, or would I like to see any rule changes? I don't see any that's going to be happening. And because I don't see any that's going to happen, I'll just keep my mouth shut about what I would like to see happen.
Yeah.
Because it's a sore subject. But that's just a sore subject. We'll just leave that one at that. Um, but like I was saying with Bill, like he had it was fun. I had a lot of fun. I really did. But you know, and I poke fun because Carrie, everybody knows Carrie if they're an
Mm-hmm.
activator, and even most hunters know her. You know, she told Bill, she said, "See what he's got, kill him, absolutely kill him." And you know, when she was on the stream the other night, I was like, "So you put a hit out on me?" she admits it. She just admitted. She's like, "Yeah, kinda."
Kinda.
Uh, but I even asked her because you know in the past, Carrie is you know there's a joke with Cade, MRD, and myself. You know, he says he's the Pota daddy. So, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I've had a couple people call me the Pota king. So I started telling him I was the Pota king. And, you know, we banter back and forth. But
Mm-hmm.
I've said it on my live stream. She's the queen, if
Mm.
not the king.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like but I asked her, I said, you know, in the years past, you haven't really had the competition that you've
Mm-hmm.
got now because like this
Yep.
year
Yep.
this year is just I see that top hunter in different categories swapping around left and right now. Like it's just intense. Has anyone done a club support your park this spring, and if so, how did you do? Mike in the chat, N8YO, I know he's done club calls in the chat. I've done club activations, but I've not done it for support your parks. So maybe Mike will put on in there how they did.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, you're talking about Carrie. Yeah, she's another one that I'm just flabbergasted how she flits from one state to the next state to the next state. And it's like,
She
how are you
now
doing this? You
now
know?
she will rove like Bill. Like
Oh gosh, yeah.
they're just you know 10 and done. You know 10 and done. Now
Yeah.
me, I told Bill that day. I said, listen, I'll do this with you, but you got to give me 12 because I can't. My nerves can't handle 10. One busted phone, one busted call, and I've got a failed activation. And I don't fail
Yeah.
activations, Bill.
Yeah, there
I
you
said you
go.
got to give me 12.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't know if it was the number or a time that you use. Obviously, you need 10 to make an activation, but if you get an activation and you've only been there, let's say 5 minutes, will you still stay and get some more, or do you look at the your watch?
Me personally,
Yeah,
depends on what kind of most of my even my big like last weekend and when I did well, my main rove was Friday night and Saturday. I came
right.
home Sunday morning, and yes, I did activate 3 or 4 more parks close to here, but I went to a family dinner, and so like I ended up with 23 parks for support your parks
Wow.
weekend. I could have got 37 or so if I
Yeah,
would have kept at it. But I did do some family things and stuff like that.
yeah.
Larry, I would have loved to come to Ontario and activate, and I'm not going to say that it's not in my plans in the future, but it's not the near future because I've got so much on my plate right now. Like just for example, next month I've got Dayton. The very next weekend after Dayton, uh, Whiskey Alpha 7 Papa Bravo Echo is wanting to try to activate DC in a day. I don't know that it can be done, but he says it can. So who am I to say let's not do it? So I'm going to go up there and do that the next weekend. Then in June, I'm probably going to go do my Delaware. I'm doing all of Delaware in a week.
Wow.
So I've
Yeah.
got a lot of stuff on my plate right now, and that's what I'm concentrating on.
Mm, very good. I was kind of curious when you mentioned Dayton. Is anybody from Parks on the Air going to do kind of set up a little shop there and talk
Well,
about it?
I, officially, I can't say that they are, but I'm going to tell you there will be a Pota tent there
Okay.
because there was one at Hamcation. I did go over and hang out with them, and here's the thing: I love Parks on the Air more than anything,
Hmm.
and I love it way more than I love YouTube because yeah, I don't. But when I obligate myself to something,
Hmm.
I have to be there. And I was obligated to growing my YouTube channel, and just like I will be at Dayton, I will be at Dayton all 3 days, pretty much from open to close, for people to meet and greet with me, which is weird to me. Okay,
Yeah.
I do not feel like people should come up to me and ask to take a picture. But my goodness, the people that come up to me and ask to take my picture, and like every time I'd walk in the building, there'd be like, "There's so and so's looking for you." I'm like, "Why? I don't know them." Like for example, for example, Steve, he said, "There's two guys from Utah looking for you. Utah looking for you." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "They have an antenna question." I was like, "This place is full of antenna experts. Why do they want to talk to me?" He said, "They're POTA guys." I said, "Never mind."
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
But I will be at day. Of course, I'll be activating while I'm out there, but normally it's going to be early mornings and late at night because that's how I have to do it when I'm at those shows.
Well, I can tell you, there's a park real close to the Dayton Hamfest. It's Beaver Creek, I think, is the name of it. So, and it's like 10 minutes south of where the Hamvention is. So,
Yeah, but I'll have to hit it really early because
yeah.
do you know how many ham radio people is
Oh yeah,
in
yeah,
town?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
I,
there's a
you,
number of them around that area.
I
So,
I'll give you a good example. It was probably almost a week after Hamcation was over, and I stayed in Florida for a month, doing some activating and stuff. I got me a kilo while I was down there. Um, I'm actually working on a kilo in another state right now as well. I like kilos in other states. I think that's cool. But I met up with Mike K8MRD,
mhm.
and we were going to do an activation. So his dad lived down there, and my mom lived down there, and we met in the middle at a park
Mhm.
to do an activation. We did our activation, and we're getting ready to leave. So we pull out the 2 meters, and we're going to do park to park with each other. You know, so we're doing park to park. Up walks a guy, and he throws out his call sign: Whiskey 3 Bravo Alpha Yankee. We're like, well, that won't work. And we hand him the radio and make him park to park us over the radio because he's getting ready to activate. But now, this is the kicker. This is a park in Florida, and it has a guy from West Virginia, a guy from Texas, and a guy from Maryland all in their activation.
All operating on 2 meters, right?
Well, I
Oh
mean, we
my.
all activated it on HF that day
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
but
yeah.
we were
Well,
leaving
there
and
you
he
go.
was setting
There you
up.
go.
But yeah, crazy stuff. And Mike N8YO, yeah, I can't wait to meet you too, man. Uh, that's for sure, Mister CW. I want to actually. We should go out and do an activation just so I can watch you do CW, Mike.
Now, I'll tell you something that that is difficult for me. I love the idea that you can have a twofer or even a threefer, but there's been some occasions where I've gone and there's been like 4 or 5 operators, and that's one of those situations that's a little bit frustrating for me because I'll go wanting to make the contact, but it takes so long to go through 5 operators or 4 operators, each one of them. And before you can get to the next person, then the pileup. Okay.
Right.
And it really makes it tough. if you're trying to move things along. Now, obviously, you learn how to be patient in those situations if you really want it bad enough, but it's a little tougher then. It is a little tougher.
Right. Shout out to David KY4GM for the 3 slices of pizza. I appreciate it, buddy. Any of you guys that help support and keep me doing what I love to do for you guys, I appreciate that. That's for sure. It's an amazing thing just to, and I've let it be known that my goal is to eventually start cutting back my work hours and do this more because I love to do it, but I can't do that without the support of people. So because we all know, everybody knows what I drive. I drive the gas hog. People, you were saying something about the twofers and the threefers, and we just recently got a twofer in West Virginia because they added the Lewis and Clark Trail, and
Mm-hmm.
I know a place where I could do that as a twofer. But like somebody was asking me when they were asking me how many parks I did over the weekend, and I told them 23, and they're like, "How many of those were twofers?" I'm like, "None of them."
Uh, that's pretty good then. That's
Uh,
pretty good.
so
Yeah.
and like my thing is this year I want to be the top dog. I want to have more contacts than anybody else as an activator, and staying in front of the digital guys is relentless work. Joseph Collins says he only tries
Yeah.
to activate with one other person. I have done multiple people, uh, but it was like a club activation. So the only
Yeah.
time we were passing the mic was for park to parks. Because
Yeah.
here's another thing that hunters should be aware of. If you go out with your club and do an activation, yes, you're using a club call, but the person that's doing those calls at that time gets credit for it. You need to turn in, yourself as the activator for the calls that you made under that club call. But when a park to park comes in, each of you has to give your specific call
Mm.
if you're turning that in for an activation because
Hmm.
if it just parks to park with the club call and you're turning in an activation for yourself because you were the operator, you're not getting that park to park because it's not going to match up. I've seen some people talking about that the other day about adding multiple operators and why they were doing it. And I was like, that's why, because you gotta, it's gotta park to parks. They have to all match up.
Yeah, I agree. Two is easy. When you get to three or more, it gets pretty time consuming.
I plan on doing some. I'm doing a West Virginia Pota meetup sometime
Hmm.
soon. I've been harassing everybody in the state trying to
Mm.
get them to give me a date they want to do it, and I plan on doing a few more because I have some really big followings in some states.
Hmm.
Michigan being one of them. I've got a
Yeah.
lot of people dying to get me to come to Michigan, and like when I come up there, I want to go somewhere and just have a Pota meetup.
There you go.
And I'm sure we'll have a big old activation, which will probably get aggravating because we'll be probably passing the mic around like a
Yeah.
million times. But it's all fun. I love to meet. That's one thing you know that's what I love about YouTube because you get, for some reason, you guys think that I'm just awesome because I'm on YouTube and I'm the Parks on the Air guy, but I really like it because when I went to Hamvention, all these people would come up looking for me, and yay, Michigan! Yeah, I'm sure Ken would definitely come to the POTA meetup up there for sure. Uh, yeah, I know you're in Michigan, Mike. You're one that when I rove Michigan, I want to talk to. But the fact that I got to meet all these hunters that hunt me, it just meant like, for example, Kilo 2 Sierra X-Ray Delta Mike from Jacksonville, Florida. He's an activator hunter, and literally because I took a train to Florida, And that's another thing. Doing the sprocket challenge and
Yeah.
taking a train. I had to
Ooh,
schedule activations
ooh, ooh,
around
yeah,
that. Like
yeah.
I had to do one like really late at night and one really early. You know what I'm saying? But it was rough. But he wanted to meet me at the train yard that we were going to stop at for like a 10-minute stop to meet me in Jacksonville, and it was going to be like 5:30 in the morning. But
Oh,
he, he
gee.
he his clock didn't go off, and he messaged me right as we was pulling out. He's like, "I
Uh,
overslept," and I'm like, "We're pulling out, dude." And, it, it, but then he comes down to Hamvention on Friday, and in the main building, signal just you didn't have it.
mm,
So when I'd go out of the main building, I'd get a message from him, and I'd message him back. Well, he would be in the main building when I'd message him back, and we missed each other all day Friday.
no.
He
Wow.
didn't come on Saturday, so he comes back on Sunday. He's like, I'm going to meet you. I'm coming back. But and it was just awesome, just to meet everybody and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. I know there's a lot of activators and hunters I'd like to meet in person just to sit and talk to them because you really don't get a chance even with activators unless things are really, I mean, very calm to have any kind of conversation with them and just learn who they are and what they operate even. So uh, that would be nice. That would be nice to be able to do something.
Well, most of you guys know what I operate with because I'm always doing videos on it. But
Yeah.
I agree with some of the people that that's like some of the hunters. Like I had somebody the other day tell me, dude, they've got all these contacts with me and stuff, and they're like, "Yeah, I only push 300 watts," and
Oh, God.
I'm like,
Yeah.
no wonder your sound is you that Steven from Indiana, uh, Hotel Victor Tango. I had to say
Yeah.
it like he says it.
Yeah.
Uh, but I I need to ask him what he's pushing because every single I don't know if our radios are in love or what, but every time he comes through, he is 20 over, and
Yeah.
he always gives me a plus back.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
I'm like, man, it's just absolutely, which I get good signal reports. You know, I, if I'm on my Eagle One, I get a good signal report. So,
Well, I kind of agree with you, and I actually, if you're going to operate a station efficiently, really the focus should be not on the radio but on the antenna system. And so
absolutely.
many operators don't even think about that. You can have 800 watts, and you're not going to get out unless you got an antenna that is a good antenna system. Okay, so
This is true for sure. But I'll tell you, like, people ask me all the time, and I've always said, yes, now Eagle One is made in my home county, but it was not when I started pushing it. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm,
started pushing it from the time I started using it because it was amazing antenna.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
like people all the time, well, how do you ground it? And I tell them the way you're supposed to.
yeah,
And they're like, no, no,
yeah,
how do you?
yeah,
And I'll explain it to them. Can you send me a picture? I'm like, yeah, but it's just gonna tell you what I just told you. Is I
yeah,
take the I take the clip that's hooked to the antenna and I hook
yeah.
it to my frame and
There you go. There you
I'm
go.
done.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like they think that it's funny because I've got a mount that's you might as well say is permanently attached to
Yeah.
my personal vehicle. And then there's another mount that's for I can take it out, but it's some work. But
Mm.
I tell people I was like, it's the rust. It's all the rust that's on it. That's my perfect ground.
There you go. There you go.
Oh yes, I'm the Eagle One fanboy, Joseph. You're absolutely right. Listen, I I've told you guys from the beginning, and I tell people when I do if they give me something to do a review, I tell them yes, I will review it. But if it is junk, I'm going to say it's junk.
Hmm.
You know, and I'm not going to say who. I've even had one person say, "Well, I'm going to send you stuff, and if you use it, if you like it, do a review. If you don't like it, give it away." I said, "Fair enough." You know,
Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's a good way to approach it. So,
but I'm
oh,
not going to get on here and say this tape measure here is the best tape measure in the world because somebody gave it to me. I'm going to
yeah.
say this tape measure here came from the Dollar Tree and it sucks. You know, but that's just how I am. You know, I'm that way about everything, and I have pushed that antenna from the beginning, and
Yeah.
now you guys reap the benefits because if you watch my channel, you know that you can go to Eagle One and type in the code HRAG and you can get 10% off your order.
Oh, there you go.
And if you're a Patreon of mine, you get free shipping. And
Ooh.
I didn't ask for none of that. When he came on the show, he's the one that told all of that. And I was like, oh, cool.
Well, there you go.
But I, I'm I am an Eagle One fanboy, Joseph. But I'm also now, speaking of awards, and we got to start wrapping this up, of course. But speaking of awards, the next time Jason posts some, I will be adding a eagle to my awards because I now have an eagle for Chief Logan State Park.
Surprise!
Surprise, surprise! I
I think
have
I do,
over.
I think I do too from you.
It's funny. Chief Logan has been activated 3 times besides me. I think maybe four,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and it is by far the most activated park in West Virginia.
Well, you
but
just lean out your window and start operating. I mean, just
but
about,
it,
don't you?
it takes me about 7 minutes.
Oh, well, there you go. There you
So,
go.
like, literally, I watched Ham Radio Clubhouse last night, and it was over at 10 o'clock, and by 10:20, I think it was, I was activating.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I've got a couple of parks really close to me where I live, and when I get myself going and finally get out to do some activation this summer, which I will do, I got plenty of them that are within 10 minutes or 15 minutes of my house that would be ideal. So, good way to start.
Well, Bruce, before we wrap this up, do you got any little tips or tricks? Because, man, this hour went fast.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
yes, it did. Yes, it did. Very enjoyable. Um, No, I think we covered a lot of it. I mean, listening is certainly important. Phonetics, you mentioned that. I think are is an important thing, and particularly patience in with the activators. If you're a hunter, um, you know, uh, because you can't hear a lot of the people that are calling in that that activator hears. So sometimes I've sensed that some hunters have gotten frustrated thinking that there were only two or three people calling back. Why can't they hear me? Okay, well, they're they may be hearing a whole lot of more people. So be
Absolutely.
patient. Be
That's just
patient.
like when I'm here at home and I'm hunting parks, I will hear an activator come back to a lot of parks and a lot of
Yeah,
people that I do not hear.
yeah, yeah. And the other thing I would say, again, this has to do with propagation, is um, don't assume that if you can't hear somebody real well, that they can't hear you, because propagation sometimes doesn't work both ways equally, which is rather interesting. And I never could quite understand that part of it, why that happens, but it frequently happens that I may not hear somebody very well, but boy, they can hear me, and they're telling me, "Why you're 10, 20 over." I'm going, "Well, I can hear you maybe 5, 5, or less." So if you hear them, throw out a call and see what happens. It's worst that can happen is they don't come back to you.
Yeah, that would be a great vanity call, Mike. If
Park
you
to
ended your call with PTP.
park. There you go.
Yeah, you would always break the pile up
Ah,
because you'd be like Kilo 8, park to park.
park to park. There you go. There you
And they're
go.
like, okay, speaking of that, guys, listen, I know you want to get through, but please, if I say, is there any park to parks, do not throw your call out
Yeah.
because I'm setting up for a park to park when you do that. I will get you, I promise you. If you want to, if I say any QRP, if you want to crank your radio down to 10 watts and say QRP, fair enough. Make sure to
Yeah.
crank it down because sometimes, I get signals when I call QRP that I'm like, QRP does not mean under 300 watts.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But,
I
you know,
like to maybe end by saying that I've had people ask me why are you on all the time? Why are you making all these calls that you've already with parks that you've already done? Well, the way I look at it is you all, the activators, have taken the time to be out there, and I should do my part in calling you and making that call, regardless of whether I've had that park before or not. And I do that.
absolutely.
I do that.
Absolutely. And,
They've taken the time. They're out there. They're making the effort, and
and,
so I need to make the effort to give them what they need to activate a park.
and you
So,
got to look, there's so many different awards you can get
oh
too.
yes,
Like, I mean, for
yes,
example, Chief Logan, I'm sure you've got at least, let's see, you've probably got a bear cave by now.
yeah, probably
That would
pretty
be,
close to it. Yeah,
yeah. So, I mean, you can get all these different awards and stuff like that
yeah,
by
yeah,
just by following people. And I love my loyal people, and you can tell you can tell when you're one of my loyal people because you always get through my pile up so easy because I know your
yeah,
voice.
yeah,
Larry's in the
yeah.
chat, and all I hear is here is Bravo India at the end, and I know it's Larry.
Hmm.
And most of the time I might have already started typing a call, and Larry will be louder, but I'll take that call. But I'm going to remember right after that I'm going to go to Larry. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you'll get through my pile ups a lot. A good example. There's a guy that hunts me from Michigan. He's always about a 5'4", 5'5" on me, and he'll get through people that are 5'9s because
Hmm.
I recognized his tone. I used to like have to really listen and try to pick him out, but now
Hmm.
I'll just hear him, and I'm not gonna call him out because he does have a weaker signal, but like I just know his tone, and like I know people are wondering how come you're taking a call that's 5'4" or 5'5",
Why
and
not?
then you're giving the next guy a 20 over. Have you heard that next guy? No, I heard him.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't tell me what I hear because I can hear my
There,
loyal
there
people
you
that
go.
hunt me.
There you
You
go.
know,
Yeah. Yep. That's it. That's it for sure.
people ask me all the time, like, how did you just call out 5 calls back to back to back without saying? Because I heard them,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and and as long as one of those calls don't throw something really weird out, they mess my mumbo up
Yep.
because that does happen too.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I'm good. But all right, guys, if there's no more questions, we're going to wrap it up because the Patreons do have After Dark with me. Hopefully, a lot of you Patreons will show up. I appreciate everybody that came on. If your question did not get asked, I'm sorry, but I tried to get every question. And big shout out to Hayden because he got all the ones I seen thrown up on the screen for me. I appreciate everybody for being out there and everybody who bought slices of pizza tonight. You guys rock, and we will catch you guys next week. Thank you very much. And 73.